It is Tuesday, May 14th in the year 2019, and I can barely believe my eyes. This is just hours after this morning's recording. The last year, couple of years especially, I have tried to tone down the volume of news regarding these things that I consume, because we can easily get overwhelmed. And it's important to keep our focus on the big picture and to not panic. But right now, there are a number of pretty serious warning signs. The headline that we're looking at, the headline that we're going to read, Chinese media calls for people's war as U.S. trade war heats up, right as North Korea begins to continue their testing. We talked about the graphic that now Facebook is putting out there, predictive programming, but it's also very strange for me because it's showing a map that's showing a particular scenario that was described on my channel with a former guest. You can find that video in the highlights section. I haven't heard other YouTube videos also describe a similar scenario, even similar boundary lines. Going back to this, and this is something that has the talk of YouTube at the moment, China will survive its trade war with the United States, state media insists, as it mounts a fierce new propaganda campaign against U.S. greed in a series of opinion pieces and on-air editorials. The country's government-controlled media use strong and nationalistic language to reassure a shaky domestic audience that China's economy can weather the higher tariffs imposed last Friday by U.S. President Donald Trump. One strongly worded editorial published by the Chinese state media and the People's Daily, the Communist Party mouthpiece, said that while the U.S. was fighting for greed and arrogance, China fought to defend its legitimate rights and interests. As I read this, think about the years I've been warning you about the campaign that one day we may see against the United States for a variety of reasons. And that's not to say that there's necessarily a good guy and a bad guy, but a corrupt world government, kind of like a Roman global structure where China didn't get to where it is by itself, not to take away from the accomplishments of China, but we are discussing the war machine and the massive transformation of that nation, especially since the 1950s. Quote, the trade war in the United States is the creation of one person and his administration who have swept along an entire population of the country, whereas the entire country and all the people of China are being threatened. For us, this is a real people's war. Now, people need to take this seriously. One of the things I want to bring to your attention is, okay, so we're looking at them bringing the people into this. This isn't the military declaring this. This is the propaganda. We're seeing this headline as we saw a geomagnetic storm. I've talked quite a bit about the links between staged events where they're almost making particular announcements on a particular timeline. And so we have this geomagnetic storm, and we have a very serious headline. A statement read during the primetime 7 p.m. news on CCTV said China would fight for a new world. That would be New World Order. As President Xi pointed out, the Chinese economy is a sea, not a small pond. A rainstorm can destroy a small pond, but it cannot harm the sea. After numerous storms, the sea is still there. Do you see where this is going? This is building. As President Xi pointed out, and we just went over so he has a quote here that is philosophical in nature, and it's going to strike a populist chord. The clip went viral. Yes, it did. On China's social media sites, as if they don't control that, and what's going to be trending the most, where it's been viewed millions of times. But they can also propagandize people to think that the people that are in power from this nation to another represent them. We see this at home. And I said that there would be a buildup where we would see nationalism on a level that we have not seen before. And I said this in the face of many people saying that would not happen. And one year we move several pieces forward in a certain direction. Unless we see a retraction of this type of behavior, the South China Sea and the activities taking place, we appear to be full steam ahead. And as I talked about in a previous video, I have a lot of appreciation for Chinese culture and Chinese food and other things, and I've always felt it to be very rednecky when people made jokes about cats and dogs in an average American Chinese restaurant. And so we need to understand that these battles and conflicts that are being waged are designed to turn nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. I pray that we have much more time. The commentaries mark a dramatic escalation of the propaganda battle after a week in which state media played down news of the trade war, barely mentioning the pair of tweets from Trump on May 3rd. China announces new tariffs. On Friday, the Trump administration raised tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese exports from 10% to 25% after the U.S. leader accused China of trying to back out of the deal. Now, a lot of people are going to be looking at this like these things weren't planned between these world leaders. This would also include the head of Russia. Everything is moving along on this clock. Washington also said it would start the process of adding duties to almost everything else which China sends to the U.S., valued at about $300 billion. In response, China announced on Monday it would be raising tariffs on roughly $60 billion of U.S. exports. The mood was a stark contrast to late April. In Beijing, their foreign ministry spokesman told a daily press briefing that China would never yield to external pressure. The Dow closed down 617 points, and the S&P fell 2.4%. Trump and Xi are expected to meet at the G20 summit in Japan in June. While we listen to this report, or as I read this, I'm going to take a pause real briefly. We'll play maybe about a minute from this YouTube channel, Robin's Hood.
Well, think of it like this. China is declaring, well, their media is. So the media is declaring a people's war against the United States, according to CNN reporting. And there's like 1 billion people in China. And I'm not exactly sure what that truly means, because it's not the military declaring war against the United States. It's the media, I think. Well, no, the president, or whatever you call the leader over there, he declared war against.
Okay, so you can watch the full video over at offgridco.com, offgridco.com. That is my website. You can find that hyperlinked down below. World War Zero, that would be the numerical number 0, is also my website. Also, solarmaxnews.com. Today I've been making some updates to Off Grid Co. There is also another article about China that you may want to read. My main website is otbtv.net. And so this is a time to be having deeper discussions about these things. So I'm going to be working hard tomorrow, updating several websites that haven't been updated in about a year. And this is what I am attempting to focus my attention on. We're actually at offgridco.com at the moment. Feel free to bookmark the website. There was also something interesting that I saw about compost toilets being legalized in Washington State. near the Olympic Peninsula. See, that's the type of positive off-grid news that I've been waiting to hear. So as we move to this potential reality and a lot more people go off the grid, county officials should have a heart to a certain degree. I understand why there are certain rules, but there should be flexibility in light of the fact that so many people are impoverished, and there is another way other than be homeless in a major dense population center, being the subject of news reports that aren't even giving people solutions to homelessness. So as we see these economic collapses and natural disasters, and there's a lot of focus now on the grand soar minimum, deep soar minimum, AKA, with various predictions as to where this is going to go. If we saw a major event like crop losses, what type of situation do you think that would put the American heartland, being that China believes that they already own this? Think about all of this money that's been wasted overseas. We were put into debt for a reason. And I can say all that with calmness and peace and not be calling for people to be going after either party, but saying that the corruption's widespread. We need to have healing amongst us as people. If you are in the San Luis Valley and other surrounding areas like that, and you've been watching this channel for some time, not so much the Forbidden County, as I call it, somewhere else in the San Luis Valley, feel free to reach out via email. I have a suspicion there's going to be a wave, if this happens, of people moving west very quickly, not just across the West Coast, but across Colorado. I'm Alex Answer signing off.